world, there are some people who are known not for who they are, but what they are will live and die. But some of us live and lead the society. One of such personality dwells in our Northeast India, and he is renowned educationist Professor Tabu Taid. Professor Tabu Taid, who lives in Guwahati, is a well-known educationist in the state of Assam. He started his career as a lecturer in English at Cotton College, the premier and oldest institution of higher education in Northeast India, established in 1901. Subsequently, he became a professor in the same college. And an administrator.
I enjoyed teaching, and I believe I had some rapport with my students also. But service prospects of teachers were different in those days. They were not the same as they are today. In deficit colleges, one entered as a lecturer and retired as a lecturer, And a few of them, of course, could expect to become principals if they were selected. In Cotton College, things were slightly better. One entered as a lecturer, then was promoted to the post of a professor subsequently. And a few of the professors could also expect to become the principal of the college. Now this post, the post of principal, was number 3 in the administrative hierarchy of the education department. Number 1 being the Director of Public Instruction, number 2 the Additional Director of Public Instruction, and number 3, as I told you, was the principal of Cotton College. So there was the question of vertical mobility. And in terms of salaries also, things were not the same as they are today. Say, I was holding the post of a professor when I left Cotton College in 1981. Now, that post of professor of Cotton College had the same scale of pay as that of a deputy director of public instruction. So if one joined as an inspector of schools or a deputy director of public instruction, he or she could legitimately expect to be promoted to the post of a joint director later, and then additional director, and if everything went well, one could also become the director of public instruction. So it's this consideration, that question of vertical mobility in terms of posts held and also in terms of salaries that made me take the decision.
People in the state are very unhappy that the Department of Education, which deals with one of the most crucial service sector, is polluted with widespread corruption. What was wrong with the department? Professor Taid is strictly against corruption, and he has suggested us how to fight against this evil.
In the 1980s, I'm not going to mention the year for obvious reasons. In the 1980s, there was a policy of appointment adopted by the government of Assam. Now, this policy was circulated in writing, which stated that all appointments should be made in consultation with local MLAs. What can you expect out of that? Can you expect a very bright scenario in the sphere of appointments? So it depends on the kinds of policies that government adopts. Secondly, a section of functionaries in the administration. I'm not saying each and every functionary, but a section of functionaries in the administration, right from the lowest level to the highest level, they have strange sense of honesty and integrity. They are unscrupulous people. So therefore, when there are loopholes in the policies, such people take advantage. And even otherwise, it's because of such people that some corruption may take place in the various departments. not only in the education department but in other departments also. Misappropriation of public money, and then of course bribe taking and nepotism and favoritism. All these aspects are there. In case of bribe taking, of course, as you can guess, both the parties are at fault, say the giver and the taker. But primarily, you must hold the taker the responsible for this, because he takes. Therefore, people are bound. Probably, they are compelled to give. You see, it's a situation is probably created in which some people feel compelled to give bribes. I don't think there has been dramatic changes in the programs and policies of the government, and I certainly can't see any kind of dramatic change in the teaching learning scenario in our own state, in school education in particular. So, but certain things have taken place in the last couple of decades or so. One thing is the bifurcation of courses. You see, earlier the higher secondary final examination used to be held covering the courses of classes 11 and 12, and the high school examination, which we call here the high school leaving certificate examination, that was held on covering the courses of classes 9 and 10, but the examinations are now held on the basis of the class 10 or class 12 course only. Probably students find it a little more manageable from the point of view of examination now. So that may be one factor. Secondly, the phenomenon of private tuition or private coaching. See, when we were students, we didn't know much about these things, private tuition or private coaching, but it has become the order of the day, and I don't think it's doing very great service to education per se, but probably students are securing more marks because of this private tuition. So this may be the second factor why the results are improving. Regarding bifurcation of the course, as I already mentioned, I'd like to share one of my own experiences in this connection. When I was Board of Secondary Education, Assam, for nearly 3 years and a half, from 1996 to 2000, we in the board made a decision that thenceforth the class 10 examination would be held only on the basis of the class 10 courses. You see, I personally hoped and expected that that decision might have had some positive impact on the results.
The efforts of the University Grants Commissions have gone a long way towards improvement in the teaching learning standards of higher education. Apart from ensuring the academic qualities of teachers by prescribing minimum requirements, there is now a policy of registering students for PhD on the basis of an admission test and interview for the purpose.
The University Grants Commission has done quite a lot towards promoting and improving the cause of higher education in many respects. But the UGC is doing too many things. That's the problem, you see. They have so many responsibilities, probably they can't pay proper attention to academic aspects. So there is this new feeling. The concern was voiced in the National Knowledge Commission report, and also thereafter, you see, the Yashwal Committee report also. That committee also talked about this, discussed this issue. So there must be an apex body over UGC and the other councils. As you know, there are about 13 councils probably, including the Medical Council of India, Bar Council of India, then All India Council for Technical Education, National Council for Teacher Education, even your NAC is a National Accreditation and Assessment Council. So there are so many other councils functioning independently. So this new concept of having an apex body, that apex body will serve as a regulatory authority for all these councils and even the University Grants Commission. That will be a kind of an umbrella organization. NCHER, the National Commission for Higher Education and Research, is yet to come into being actually. See, so we'll have to wait and see how it performs and how it delivers. I was the first deputed as the first director. I was deputed to build up the institute, and in fact I was connected even before the institution actually took off. You see, it took off sometime in June 1990, but I was put in charge of the institute from 1989, the year in which it was registered as a society. It's an autonomous body to be fully funded by the state government, and state government initially provided funds for the purpose. I had quite some money at the beginning to run the institute, but then gradually, you see, money became more and more scarce, and it became extremely difficult for me to run the institute. And later on, many of the projects that we had before us, some of the projects had to be discontinued. Initially, it was to be only a directorate of indigenous languages and culture. But later on, you see, a state level seminar was held in which it was decided that the institute would have several wings. One was language and linguistics, research in these fields. Another was literature and translation. Another was folklore and oral traditions. And the fourth was this culture, art and music. In fact, you see, the whole gamut of art and culture, you might say, and including language and literature. So the net was, in a sense, very wide, and you needed a lot of money to do research work in all these fields. Moreover, there was one cell which was called Sanskrit Studies Cell, because you know probably that Anandaram Barua was a